Above the clouds, beyond the reach of any aircraft, lies the exoatmosphere, a realm where speed is measured in miles per second, and a single miscalculation could plunge the world into chaos. Two superpowers, the United States and China, are racing to master it. And in the silence of space, their weapons wait. Today we'll be exploring the exoatmospheric military capabilities of the United States and China. You're watching Calls. Part 1. The United States Arsenal. The United States has invested heavily in exoatmospheric technology, deploying a layered defense designed to destroy incoming threats before they ever re-enter Earth's atmosphere. One pillar of that defense is the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System, THAAD, operated by units like the 35th Air Defense Artillery Brigade based in South Korea and the 94th Army Air and Missile Defense Command in Hawaii. These batteries intercept short to intermediate range ballistic missiles in their terminal phase, at altitudes up to 150 kilometers. At sea, the Aegis Ballistic Missile Defense System equips dozens of U.S. Navy warships, from Arleigh Burke-class destroyers like USS John Finn, DDG-113, to Ticonderoga-class cruisers like USS Lake Erie, CG-70. Armed with SM-3 Block 2A interceptors, these ships can engage missiles and even low Earth orbit satellites, proven in 2008's Operation Burnt Frost, when Lake Erie destroyed a malfunctioning spy satellite at 133 miles altitude. For intercontinental threats, the United States turns to the ground-based Mid-Course Defense System, operated by the 100th Missile Defense Brigade, GMD, at Fort Greely, Alaska, and Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. These ground-based interceptors carry exoatmospheric kill vehicles, non-explosive kinetic projectiles that destroy enemy warheads by direct impact at speeds over 15,000 miles per hour. In orbit, the United States Space Force operates the Space-Based Infrared System, SBIRS, through units like the 2nd Space Warning Squadron at Buckley Space Force Base. These satellites detect the heat signatures of missile launches in real time, giving commanders precious minutes to respond. And circling silently above, the X-37B orbital test vehicle, operated by the 3rd Space Experimentation Squadron, carries out classified missions, from deploying experimental payloads to possibly inspecting or disabling adversary satellites. Part 2. China's expanding arsenal. China's rise in exoatmospheric capabilities has been rapid and deliberate. In 2007, the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force, then known as the 2nd Artillery Corps, launched a SC-19 direct-ascent anti-satellite weapon from the Xichang Satellite Launch Center. The target? A defunct FY-1C weather satellite. The result? A successful destruction at 865 kilometers altitude and over 3,000 pieces of space debris. Today, the PLA Rocket Force fields the Dongning 3, DN3, a mobile hit-to-kill interceptor believed capable of reaching geosynchronous orbit, where many of America's most valuable communication and missile warning satellites reside. These systems are deployed by units such as Base 61 and Base 64 within the Rocket Force's order of battle. Then there's the DF-17 hypersonic glide vehicle, deployed by Unit 63615 near Fujian Province. Traveling at Mach 5 to 10, it can maneuver unpredictably, evading interception by THAAD or SM-3 missiles and striking high-value targets with minimal warning. China has also launched a series of experimental on-orbit servicing satellites, Shijian-17 and Shijian-21, controlled by the PLA Strategic Support Forces Space Systems Department. Officially designed for satellite maintenance, these spacecraft are capable of proximity operations and may use robotic arms to capture or disable enemy satellites without creating large debris fields. From the ground, China operates suspected laser dazzler facilities, such as those near Urumqi in Xinjiang, which could blind or damage the optical sensors of US reconnaissance satellites without a physical strike. Part 3. A hypothetical conflict. The year is 2032. Political tensions between the United States and China have reached a breaking point over a crisis in the South China Sea. As carrier strike groups maneuver in contested waters, the battle is about to move beyond Earth's atmosphere. The first move comes from the People's Liberation Army rocket force, specifically its Unit 63891, which controls China's anti-satellite capabilities. Using the SC-19 direct descent missile launched from Xichang Satellite Launch Center, China targets an American early warning satellite in geostationary orbit. Within minutes, the satellite, part of the Space Delta IV early warning network, is rendered inoperable, blinding a key segment of US missile detection coverage over the Western Pacific. Almost simultaneously, Rocket Force Brigade 617 launches DF-17 hypersonic glide vehicles from mobile launchers hidden deep in Fujian province. Their intended targets, Andersen Air Force Base in Guam and the USS Ronald Reagan, CVN-76, carrier strike group, operating east of the Philippines. The United States responds instantly. Task Force 70, the US 7th Fleet's main striking arm, orders USS Shiloh, CG-67, and USS John Finn, DDG-113, both Aegis ballistic missile defense warships, to engage. SM-3 Block 2A interceptors roar skyward, exiting the atmosphere in seconds to meet the incoming hypersonics before they descend. While the Aegis systems score several kills, one DF-17 penetrates, striking a fuel depot on Guam and severely damaging logistics operations. Meanwhile, Space Operations Command directs Space Delta IX to activate defensive measures for US military satellites, deploying maneuverable microsatellites to shadow and potentially neutralize Chinese inspector satellites, suspected of carrying kinetic kill payloads. China escalates further. From the Korla Missile Test Complex, Unit 63620 launches a second salvo, this time targeting GPS satellites in medium Earth orbit with DN-3 interceptors. The loss of several GPS birds begins to degrade precision-guided munition accuracy for US forces in theater. In retaliation, US Cyber Command's Joint Task Force Space Defense executes a pre-planned digital strike against the control systems of China's Beidou navigation network, introducing false positional data that misguides PLA rocket force targeting. The fight is now fully exoatmospheric. Orbital debris clouds from destroyed satellites threaten civilian and military spacecraft alike, while both nations' missile defense units operate at maximum tempo. On the ground, combat operations in the South China Sea are now fought under degraded communications, forcing commanders to rely on pre-scripted operational plans. In this battle for the ultimate high ground, victory hinges not on who controls the seas or skies, but on who holds the space between Earth and the stars. Part 5. Strategic Stakes and Security Implications. The proliferation of exo-atmospheric weapons fundamentally alters the strategic balance between the United States and China, introducing new variables into both deterrence theory and escalation management. Unlike conventional military assets, space-based and exo-atmospheric systems are inherently dual-use, capable of serving both civilian and military functions, making attribution of intent more difficult and increasing the risk of misinterpretation during crises. For the United States, maintaining the integrity of space-based infrared system, SBIRS satellites, GPS navigation, and protected communications links is essential for enabling global power projection. A successful Chinese strike against these systems would not only degrade missile warning capabilities, but also erode the US military's precision strike advantage and disrupt synchronization between joint and allied forces. For China, the primary strategic stake lies in denying the US the ability to operate unimpeded in the Western Pacific. By targeting orbital assets early in a conflict, Beijing seeks to create a localized superiority window in which its People's Liberation Army Navy, PLAN, South Sea Fleet, and Rocket Force brigades could operate with reduced US interference. However, this carries its own risks. The destruction of orbital assets can generate debris fields that threaten China's own satellites and potentially trigger international backlash. From a broader security perspective, the deployment of kinetic anti-satellite weapons, hypersonic glide vehicles, and advanced missile interceptors erodes the stability provided by mutual vulnerability in space. The absence of robust arms control frameworks for exo-atmospheric systems means that both sides operate without clear red lines, heightening the potential for miscalculation. If deterrence fails, the conflict could escalate rapidly across domains, from space to cyber to conventional, with cascading effects on global communications, navigation, and trade. The stakes are not confined to military outcomes. They extend to economic stability, alliance cohesion, and the broader credibility of international norms governing space. As we stand on the brink of a new era in warfare, understanding the dynamics of exo-atmospheric weapons is no longer optional, it is essential. This is the new high ground, and it is already armed. Thank you for watching this episode of Cause. If you enjoyed and you want to see more, like, share, and subscribe.